you know what? I want to carry on the story. Like what I said, I try to keep my videos about 10 minutes long, no longer than 10 minutes, because if if you go too long, people will get bored of it. But here's something really interesting, right? This really backs up my theory of Polynesia coming out of Alaska, right over
To the
here.
waist of the figure. To my mind, this is the mountain.
Go look at this website if you want to, find out more from his point of view. But I'm just listening to the tales of the old world, right? I'm just listening from another person's point of view of what they found out.
Maori representation of the walrus, or sea
And then
elephant,
I'll put
which
my
they could see
input,
only
right?
in high latitudes. The old man who questioned me on the subject clearly had it in his mind that the Maroochydore dwelt in that mysterious part of the world from whence their ancestors came to New Zealand. It would seem that this confirms the Rarotongan story.
Okay, this is why I will debunk the idea that the New Zealand Maoris, if we look at the map, right, ever came from Alaska. Where's Alaska? Went to Antarctica. It would make sense, right? If you really think about it, that people might say to me, "Oh, the reason why the Maoris, the Maori people, were able to tell this story was because they went to Antarctica, right? If you think about it, look at the location. That's what you would think. You'll think this is where they got the story from, or you'll probably think they might have got the story because if you look in New Zealand, right, especially in uh, the South Island, there's a lot of snowy areas within New Zealand. So people might think that's where they got the theory from, Maybe it was within New Zealand. But if we carry on, listen to this.
Tongans have also some tradition of the ice-covered ocean.
Tonga. Do you hear that? Tonga. Sorry for that. Yeah, I'm watching a game at the moment. But where's Tonga? If we go have a look, right? This is New Caledonia right over here. Where's Tonga? There's people here watching who have no idea where Tonga is. Tonga is right over here. Right there. This is where Tonga is. Delete these ones.
Which they call Tai Fatu,
Rarotonga.
which means the thick, fat-like, or congealed ocean, and to which some of their ancestors had been in long ages ago.
Do you hear that? Long ages ago. So it's an oral history passed down from one Polynesia to another, telling an oral history of where the Polynesians came from.
This I learned from Reverend J.E. Moulton, the best living authority on Tongan traditions, who after this will deny to the Polynesians the honor that is their due as skillful and daring navigators. Here we find them boldly pushing out into the great unknown ocean in their frail canoes, actuated by the same love of adventure.
See, this is the thing that all these people, putting all the information together, right? It all makes sense, but they get the wrong area. They think that when the Polynesians are telling these oral histories, right, that they think that it's in Antarctica. They're not thinking in their minds that they are actually talking about the homeland or the actual area of where the Polynesians came from, which is in Alaska. And I will show you guys a very good example of what I'm talking about.
Discovery that characterizes our own race. Long before our ancestors had learned to venture out of sight of land, these bold sailors had explored the Antarctic seas,
It's not
traversed the
Antarctica.
Pacific Ocean
Trust
from
me.
end to end. Considering the means at their command, their lightly built canoes, the difficulty of provisioning the crew, is implied in
Suffering from bad service management? Jira Service Management from Atlassian. AI-powered support for your whole...
finding the race in places so widely set explorers. Many people have doubted the ability of the Polynesians to make the lengthy voyages implied in finding the race in places so widely separated as Hawaii, Easter Island, New Zealand, and the Northwest Pacific south of the line. But we cannot doubt the very definite statements made in their own traditions. The love of adventure, of moving about from place to place, which is so characteristic of the race even in these days, has always been a feature in their lives. More often than not, they made these adventurous voyages with the definite object of establishing new colonies in which to settle,
And this guy
taking
has
with them
no,
their
no
domesticated animals, seeds,
and
plants.
this guy has no idea. He's just telling a story. He probably found these historical oral history of Polynesia, but while reading books, just like myself, right? So
And
we'll carry on.
families. It has already been pointed out the effect the vast number of islands in Indonesia must have had on the people in increasing their power of navigation. In passing onward by the New Guinea, Solomons to the Fiji
Yeah,
group,
see,
the
this
idea
is the BS they always make out of Taiwan theory. We didn't come out of here. And the reason why I say that is if Polynesians, right, came out of this region over here, how the heck are they going to talk about Antarctica? Icy place. Why would they talk of their homeland? The place that they came from was icy. There's no ice around this area. There's no icy area around these regions. That's why I keep saying there are truths in here that the ancestors of the Micronesians, okay, came from Southeast Asians. Yes, that is fact. I'm not going to deny that. Okay. What I'm trying to say, and I keep trying to tell people. Now, the Negroes of these nations, I have no idea where they came from. But the ancestors of the Micronesians came from the Philippines, Taiwan. That's true. That's facts. You can't deny that. But what I'm trying to say, right, is the ancestors of the Polynesian people actually came out from this area over here. That's the area. That's where I'm pinpointing. This is where the admixture of two different genetics of the Polynesian people came, and they populated this area right over here.
must have forced itself into the minds of the people that the whole eastern world was covered with islands, and that they had only to move onward into the unknown to find more land. Could this journey even have been possible? It would have taken several months to reach the mainland Antarctica, and there would be few resources for them when they got there.
Exactly. Do people even realize you can't even survive in Antarctica? The area is so bad, you'll freeze to death even getting over there. No one can survive in Antarctica.
The weather would be harsh, and the
Yeah,
seas
exactly.
dangerous and unfamiliar. But the Maori were expert seafarers. The navigator would
It,
attempt to keep the canoe on a course
you
relatively.
know what people do not realize? In Antarctica, someone told me the story. There's no sunlight. There's like 24 hours. It's like a whole 6 months. It's total darkness over there. So this whole idea that he's saying that Antarctica is the area, it's not. The the only place that's icy and it's got all those type of animals that the Polynesians people were talking about is in Alaska. Nowhere else.
To these obstacles exactly where they were going and what they were going to find and refuel at. They did this by making sure they had enough preserved foods like starch deep well on an island. But on extremely long journeys that they frequently had to make to reach
Good.
these boats they were sailing in were also not the tiny canoes we usually associate with the Polynesian. Down on land, by archaeologists have found Maori pot shards on the Antipodes Islands, off the southernmost tip of New Zealand,
Yeah.
and on the Enderby Island, which is considerably south of the Antipodes. In the ensuing penguin and seal oil fire, for these ancient Polynesian travelers spoken of in the Maori oral histories. An archaeological study on this island could very well turn up groundbreaking discoveries.
I think I'm just gonna finish the video by saying he got he's got the he's got the homeland of the Polynesian people in the wrong area. I feel like when the Polynesians or when Tongans, Cook Islanders, and the Maori people do talk about where their ancestors came from. It doesn't come from there. They're actually talking about this region over here. There. This is the area, Alaska. And I'll give you one reason why I say Alaska is the homeland of Polynesia. And it all comes down to birds. In the next video, I'll actually show you the type of birds that you find within Alaska. The birds that fly from here all the way to guess where? Hawaii. Right over here.